Good evening, students. Welcome to this last day of chapter 3. So I think the whole schedule is that each week we are going to complete a chapter, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday you have time to revise, and Monday you can ask questions. So let us see who gets the e-chocolate for today. So Darshan gets it. Then we have Heaven, Raj, Sunil Kumar, Rajiv Kumar Singh, Brinda Kundu, Manisha, Diksha. So good evening to all of you. Any questions you have from our last lecture, and then we'll just start. Okay, so let us start. We are in chapter 3. We have some slides to complete from day 2. I'll bring that. Just give me a second. Yeah. So here we are. The last was this. Then we'll go continue. So we have Dikshita, Harshit, and Kavita have joined us. So good evening to all. Okay. So second aspect from controls, application controls. Now within application control, there are two basic ways the module has presented it. First is accounting audit trail, operations audit trail, and control type. So let us take it one by one. Application controls include boundary, input, communication, processing control, database, and output control. So we'll do a fast run through from the module. Yeah. Any questions you have to ask? So there is very good this flow chart that is on page 3.44 of the module. So it summarizes. So I'll request you that you can take a printout of this flow chart, enlarge it, place it somewhere where you study. So that it is going to be a great help. So let us take it one by one. The application control framework, the two, I'll just read through the bold part. So application system controls involve ensuring that the application systems safeguard assets, uh, that is keeping the loss at a low level, maintain integrity, and achieve objectives effectively, efficiently from perspective of user of system from within or outside the organization. Then an audit trail should recall all material elements that occur within the boundary subsystem to analyze, search for errors or irregularities. Now, please understand, wherever this word audit trail control comes, keep a tag of it. Ministry of Corporate Affairs circular on mandating companies to maintain non-editable audit trail. So the law is keeping pace with technology. So just keep a tag of it because this becomes contemporary and more pertinent to know and understand. So I've already said to you that wherever you find the word audit trail, just keep a note of that location, what exactly is the idea behind all the discussion. So let us read through this. So audit trail controls attempt to ensure that chronological record of all events that have occurred in system is maintained. I think chronological we understand, date-wise. This record is needed to answer queries, fulfill statutory requirement. Now, please understand. So, see, we must be thankful to Board of Studies and the institute that the whomsoever has written this module, and this module had its birth prior to the MCA circular being mandated. So this idea about fulfill statutory requirement is already configured in this. So that is how law is keeping pace with technology, the way it is evolving. Detect the consequences of errors and allow system to monitor, system monitoring and tuning, because you can identify the reasons for failure, if any, through audit trails in system. Okay. So two type of audit trail should exist in each subsystem: accounting audit trail and operations audit trail. What exactly is accounting audit trail? Is to maintain record of events within the subsystem, and operations audit trail is to maintain record of attempted or source consumption associated with each event of subsystem. So maintenance of both is mandated and suggested required as per the audit trail mandate. Now, so reading through the application controls, first is boundary controls. Now, please understand the core definition of boundary control is that controls placed uh, at the boundary of application system. So from where the user is going to try to enter into system. So these controls are boundary controls. Within that, first is cryptographic controls. These are designed to protect privacy of data and prevent unauthorized modification of data by scrambling data. Now, this scrambling data is a new word that you read for the first time. Scrambling is basically creating a code. See, we took that in the private and public key discussion, we shared how this codification can be done. So there are multiple ways of doing it. So you can scramble. So scramble is keep making it in such format, such code that even if an individual, he or she has access to data, he or she will not be able to draw any inference from that data. So that is scrambling of data. This deal with programs for transferring data into ciphertext. We actually did that on Excel. So the normal text was converted through to cipher or a coded text. So cipher means coded, which has been converted, which has been encrypted. That is. So ciphertext, anyone reading, for that individual, it will be useless, because unless he or she knows the key. So in our example, we use 10 as a key to create a ciphertext. So that is how you learn through that. Then three techniques of cryptography are used. So just remember the names. Okay, need not go into the details of this. Just remember the names: transposition, substitution, or product cipher. Just keep a tag of it. Transposition is permute the order of characters. Substitution is replace the characters, and product cipher could be combination. So the example we took was basically substitution. We substituted one value with another. Okay, so you can use all these parameters. Then next boundary control is access control. This control restrict use of computer system to only authorized persons. We have already talked a lot about this. How does this access control is put in place? So I'll read the headers only. Okay. So user identification, then authentication mechanism of the user, and authorization. So through this, you do the access control. We had already had a detailed discussion on this. Then PIN, personal identification numbers, is also a form of boundary controls. Then there is a life cycle of PIN given in the paragraphs. I'll request you to please read through the life cycle of PIN, because this could be a direct question. Okay. Several life cycle of the PIN means the time from which it is created to the time you override them. That becomes a life cycle. Like, so let us read through. So first is generation of the PIN. So imagine you are having a credit card, debit card of a bank, and they generate a PIN for you. So that generation becomes the first step. Issuance and delivery of the PIN to user. So how does bank deliver? So generally bank may send it by post. Bank may send it through this lot of banks, when they send you credit card, debit card, so they don't send you the PIN on your registered mobile number or an email address. They send a code, a 6-digit code they send. They ask you that when you want to enable the credit card, debit card for usage, first time you need to go to the bank designated ATMs, then insert your card. As soon as you are going to insert the card in the ATM machine, the machine is going to ask for the OTP. So you give the OTP to the machine, and then you can create your own PIN. So this becomes generation of PIN. issuance, delivery of PIN, so how you are delivering that to validation of PIN entry at the terminal device. The example of ATM, termination of PIN across transmission. So the PIN has to travel on the network. Then the server processes whether the PIN entered by the user is a valid PIN. Then storage of PIN for validity purpose. You can change the PIN, get a replacement of PIN, and termination. So there is a life life period for a PIN. So then it is terminated. It is simple, but just keep a tag of it. These steps can be asked sequentially. You may be asked to answer the life cycle. The question can be right about the life cycle of a personal PIN number, like that. Then digital signatures, we have talked about, used for establishing authenticity of the person. Preventing denial of message or contracts are critical requirement when data is exchanged in electronic form. So the private public key discussion we did. So we talked about that digital signatures are used in India. They are used through Information Technology Act 2000 as amended by 2008. In that law, digital signatures have been given a legal frame. The digital signatures that we are using as of now work on an asymmetric crypto system. So there is a concept of public key and there is a concept of private key. We have CAs, certifying authorities, who issue digital signatures in India to the users. So that whole process is already part of law itself. Then plastic cards may, while PIN and digital signatures are used for authentication, plastic cards are used primarily for identification purpose. So these employee cards, now employee cards are also chip-based cards so that they can mark their attendance by showing the card at a attendance marking machine. So this is boundary controls. Now within boundary controls, accounting audit trail and operations audit trail. So we'll just run through this fast. All material application-oriented events occurring within the boundary system should be recorded. That may include data related to identity of the would-be user, authentication information supplied, the resource requested provided, the start-finish time. So that is what information user has provided, what information he wants to access, for how much time user was there in system. Accounting audit trail. Operations audit trail. This includes details like resource usage from log on to log out time and log off resource consumption. So what actually was done, what activities were done, that is part of operations audit trail. So both need to be maintained as a part of boundary controls. Then coming to the second one, input controls. So input controls, 4 types are given. Input controls are like all systems are going to work on a concept that we have talked about many times. That is what we all call as GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So whatever systems you are using, they are going to work on garbage in, garbage out. So if you are focused, if you want good quality output, what you need to ensure is good quality input. So that is input control. And kindly understand that the way things are moving, the way technology is moving, the data capture at the source of the transaction, that is input. Once data is captured, now every process is automated. So there is nothing much left once you have captured data. So capturing data accurately, qualitatively good data, capturing of data in a timely manner is very important ingredient for success of information system, because this information system you are going to use for decision making purpose. So that is why a lot of emphasis and focus is put on input like that. So within input control, data coding control, batch control, validation, and then audit trail control. So data coding control, we have actually done it practically, so I'm not reading it through. I told you that whatever we are studying is part of the course itself. So error of transcription, error of transposition, then we did these 3 errors: addition, truncation, and substitution. So we have done it practically on the Excel sheet. Still, if you feel if you feel a fast repetition is needed, put in the chat, but I think we have done practically, so that is not going to be needed. Okay. Error of transcription and error of transposition. Then batch control. Now, before we talk about batch control like this, we need to understand the nature of location where you are going to use. So whenever we say batch control, we need to understand the types of processes, types of processing that is there today. So say there are basically three types of processing that we use. Okay. So let me put, so because batch control relates to a very specific type of process. So let me put all the, so what I'm writing a very different topic, not exactly in the module, but very good to understand and remember. So there are way of processing transactions. So I'm writing all the three ways. There's one way is batch process. Another is called as online process. And third is called as real-time process. So transaction is processed in these three methodologies: batch, online, real-time. Now, batch process means what? So see, batch process is that transactions are accumulated and processed. That is called as batch process. Online process is transactions are immediately processed. Online process. Real-time, transactions are immediately processed, and based on the status generated by the process transaction immediately, system reacts to that. That is real time. Okay. So I'll be asking questions. This difference you must understand between batch, online, and real time. So let me do it again. Batch process, transactions are accumulated and processed. Online, transactions are immediately processed. Real time, transactions are immediately processed, and the status the transaction generates in system creates a response within the system. So the difference between batch, online, real time is clear. Batch, you accumulate and process. Online, real time, you immediately process. But the core difference between online and real time is what? That once you process a transaction online, if system creates a action, an event, system responds to the event based on the online processing of transaction. That is real time. We have talked about this. Let us now give definition to our example on day one of this class. When we started our class, what was the example? From chapter 1, day 1, first hour of that. Say you have got your inventory module. There is a concept of reorder level. So the stores clerk issues an item of inventory. As soon as the stores clerk issues the item of inventory, the inventory is updated. This is online. Now, the update of inventory level is such that the item's inventory level has hit reorder level. Because this item's level has hit reorder level, it triggers an action in the purchase system. So a purchase order is triggered. So this triggering of purchase order is real time. So online is where you immediately update system. Real time is this update is responded by the system. Another positive action is taken. That is real time. So sometimes you always say that all real time systems are online, but all online systems may not be real time. That is the difference. Just carry this. So कोई रिविजनरी क्लास का अभी तो शेड्यूल नहीं है. Okay. Then rest institute board of studies is going to decide. Okay. Then now come to batch controls. So the next question that I must ask you is whether you know of any location where transactions are today processed in batches. कब आपको कोई ऐसी जगह, स्थान, कोई संस्थान आपको पता है क्या जहां पे आज भी बैच प्रोसेस होता? बैच प्रोसेस मींस व्हाट? Accumulate transaction and then process. So I want you to answer this question, whether you know any institution where batch process is still being done, or a transaction that you may know is processed in batch. So to me, everything is online today. Okay, but let us do it fast. The answer is NEFT. The NEFT transaction in NEFT transaction in bank are batch process. So transactions are accumulated and every 1 hour, 2 hour they are processed. So that is a batch process. Now, why is so much discussion on batch process and why a separate heading in batch process? The importance is because see what is happening, because there is a time gap between between occurrence of transaction and processing of transaction. There is a time gap. So you need to ensure that by the time transactions are processed, there is no loss of transaction, there is no wrong entry. In online real-time system, it is immediately captured, but batch there is going to be a time gap. So to ensure that this time gap does not result in an error, you create separate batch totals and they are financial totals. So all vouchers which are going to be processed in batch, so you calculate the total of the voucher. So this is the total financial value of the batch. This is one. Second is important, hash total. Hash total is you total a field other than the financial total from the batch. Just for example, suppose you are processing a batch of 10 vouchers and the financial total of the voucher is say 10 crores of rupees. So financial total is 10 crore of those 10 vouchers. Hash total will be any other numeric other than the financial total. Say, for example, you can total voucher number. So if the voucher number that you're starting your process is 11 and 10th voucher is 20, so your voucher total will be 155. Yeah. So your voucher total will be 155. So what you do? So financial total is 10 crore, voucher total is 155. And document, how many documents are there along with the supporting with these vouchers? So you pre-calculate this, and once this data is fed in system, you check whether the pre-calculated information tallies with the information generated in system. This acts as a batch control. So batch control is very specific where you use it in batch processing. So just keep a tag of it. So NEFT, yes. Then third is validation of input, data input control. So field check. Okay, so I'm just asking if you know this, irctc.co.in. When you book your railway reservation, you book your railway ticket online. So there is an age field. So what is the minimum value and maximum value that you can put in that age field? irctc.co.in. When you book your tickets online, so what is the age field has to be put? So what is the minimum value you can put here and what is the maximum? So once you answer, then I'll come back here. Okay. Then reasonableness check. Reasonableness check is that any this sorry. Second is, so first is field check. We'll come to field check once you answer this question. Then record check. We talked about accumulation of field is a record. So within this you have reasonableness, the total value of that record, valid sign plus or minus, whether it is coming in proper sequence. So these checks. Then batch check we have talked about. This includes like the nature of transactions, the sequence of transactions like that. And field, collection of field is record and collection of record is file. So file check. This includes version, internal, external labeling on file. So these checks are there. Let us read your answers. So we have only one answer. Brinda says some minimum is 0, but now because we have one answer and we need to take this forward. So I did the child in heart, jo dil mein bachcha hai, ek din it woke up, and so I thought let us do a trial and error. So by trial and error, I found that the minimum value you can put in the age field is 5, and maximum when I did it was 125. Okay. So that is field check, that you cannot, your minimum value will be 5 and maximum will be 125. Because child below the age of 5, he or she doesn't, is not supposed to pay any ticket fare. So, and no seat is also allotted to that child. So 5 and 125. Now this discussion has two aspects: the limit, minimum, maximum, and you have to mandatorily put numerics there. So all these are field checks. Then audit trail control for input. So accounting audit trail and operations audit trail. So what this must do for input, this must record the origin, content, timing of transaction entered into the system, thus involving details of the identity of the person uh, who was the source of data who entered the transaction in system, time and date when the transaction has been captured in system, the identifier of the device from where it has been captured. So that is accounting audit trail. Operations audit trail may include some of the data that might be collected into time to key in the source document. So total time taken or an instrument. So how much time voucher was taken to feed completely once all login procedures were done. Then number of keying errors, how many errors were there when the feeding was there, because like the example I've shared that you are feeding the age. So I did it multiple times to find minimum is 5 and maximum is 125. So whatever time I put it, that becomes part of the operational audit trail. So that is input controls. Then communication controls. Now communication controls. So this is important because uh, today, whatever we do, there's a concept of network. Whenever I say, like we are talking to each other, so this is communication. Okay. So a whole network system has been built so that enables you and me to talk to each other. These controls, these discuss exposures in communication subsystem, control over physical components, communication line errors, flow, link, topological controls, channel access control, control over subversive attack, inter-networking controls, communication architecture, and audit trail controls. Now, please understand, see, this part of this communication control is going to have a lot of technical words. Okay, so I'll request you to remember. इस जगह पे कुछ काफी तकनीकी शब्दों का प्रयोग किया है, तो मेरा निवेदन है कि आप उनको याद रखें ऐसा. ओके, भाई काफी सारी चीजें हम 90% अपन समझ के याद रख रहे हैं, इस 10% को पढ़ के याद रखें. Just remember the words. Okay. So first is physical component controls. In communication subsystem, the physical component shall have characteristics that make them reliable. So you need to increase the reliability of the communication channel. Major physical components that affect the reliability are subsystems like transmission media, communication line, modem, port protection devices, multiplexers, and concentrator. In fact, if you read the last 3-4 words, they are basically communication devices. Few you must have seen. Modem you have seen. Multiplexer, concentrator, I don't know whether you have seen. Communication line is the line through which you send your communication. So controlling the physical component. Then controlling the errors that may occur. Now, I don't know whether you know about these words. I'll try to explain. Okay. I'll draw a graph to explain to you. Okay, just give me a second. Now, it's XY graph. Line error control is exactly what? See what happens as you start communicating. So, suppose on my x-axis, I have dB. Now, what exactly is dB? You will know it. So, dB is decibel. So, it's a unit for measuring the strength of communication. So, whatever signal that you're transmitting, so it is measured in dB, the strength of the signal. So, what happens when you transmit a signal over a distance? There is a concept of attenuation. Attenuation means it loses its strength. Okay. So, y-axis is the length and x-axis is the strength of the communication. So, over a period of so as you know, I have to improve. It is losing the strength. So y-axis is, oh, sorry. So let me change the, give me a second. dB, so that is here, and here it is. Yeah, now it is correct. So it loses strength over distance that you are sending the communication. So this is what is called as attenuation. So you require devices to ensure, because by the time recipient receives the signal, it must be like उसमें इतनी ताकत होना चाहिए कि सुना जा सके. So by the time recipient receives the signal, it must have that much of strength that the recipient can listen to it. So you need require devices. So there are amplifiers also used and all that thing. So that is attenuation, losing strength over a distance. Then distortion because it's electric signal. So magnetic interference may distort it. Noise may be added to it. External two communication line crossing may add noise to each other. So all these errors need to be corrected out. That is what is called as line flow controls. Slightly technical, but keep a tag of it. Then flow controls are needed because two nodes in a network can differ in terms of rate at which they send, receive, transfer data. Now, what exactly is flow control? So I can speak 60 words in a minute, but you can understand 30 words in a minute. That is mismatch of speed. Or let us do it reverse. I can say 30 words in a minute, but you are smart, young generation. You can understand 60 words in a minute. So your grasping capacity is higher. So that difference between the speed between the receiving and sending devices, you need to control the flow, because then if you don't, you need to some way of managing. If you don't manage, the last line of the para is important. Data may be lost. So you have to manage this. Then link controls, the way linkages have been established. Topological controls. Topological control is the way your network is created. I think you have read this. Let me read through the line. A communication network topology specifies the location of the nodes within the network, the ways in which these nodes will be linked, and the transmission capabilities define the topology. The network must be available for use at any one time by a given number of users. That may require alternative hardware, software, or routing of messages. Now, please understand this topological control is a specific issue relating to your network topology. You have read network topology. I want you to tell the types of network topologies. I'll come to this. It's a good discussion to have. It will create an understanding. So then you need not remember it by reading it. So I want you to tell the topologies. Network topology is you have read as a part of CA syllabus, as a part of your 12th, you have read network. In fact, by 10th class, you have read networks. So I want you to tell the topologies of the network. Based on that, I'll answer. We'll come back to this again. Then channel access control, the way channels are going to be accessed. Two different nodes in a network can compete to use a communication channel. We have talked about this. Contention was the word. Who gets access to which channel? That is. Then control over subversive attack. Subversive attack is attack to hit your network. So we have already talked about one control, firewalls. So you need to secure your system so that no unauthorized person can enter your system. I'm waiting for you to answer topologies. Okay. Then internet working controls. Different internet working devices like bridges, router, gateway are used to connect homogeneous or heterogeneous network. So a lot of, because there is going to be heterogeneity of network, your system, your modem, the recipient system, recipient's model, the communication channel. So all can be different. It can be a huge combination, permutation to bring it on a standard. So you create protocols. So what, to ensure that all people are able to talk well, you create protocols for standardization. Yeah, I've got it. Okay, so it's a good discussion. We'll just have it fast. It's a learning one. So I told you that if we discuss something additional, it is part of the syllabus. So let us, I'll bring a Word document to show you how it works and what is the issue behind it. Just give me a second. So here we are. So we are going to use So how does this topologies look like? So I'm first drawing a bus. Now, so how does bus topology look like? Just give me a second. Yeah. So the bus topology looks like this. The larger arrow is what is called as a main trunk line through which communication is flowing, and the nodes are connected to this. So this is called as a trunk line. So this is your trunk line. So it is like, it appears like a bus. So the trunk line is there and the passengers are seated across it. So this is what is a bus topology. The risk in bus topology is that if the trunk line fails, the whole network goes down. So that is why you need to create resilience in network. So that was the point. Okay, topological issues. So if you're using trunk, then you need to have some another alternate mechanism. So that is trunk. So what I'm doing, I'm sharing the risk also with you. So this is bus topology. Let us look to the other one. Just give me. Yeah. So now we'll draw the next one. So how does next one look like? So next one is called as a ring topology, where the network is like a ring and the nodes are connected in a ring network like that. So this is a ring network. It appears like a round ring. Now, what happens? Say, for example, this communication is broken. This channel is broken. So how this system is going to talk to this system? Because this line is broken. So what this system will do? It will contact through this. So it will be able to contact the system, but the time required to connect will be increased. So that is one of the risk in ring network. When connection goes off, it adds to the time of communication. But because it's ring, so there's a like an alternate connectivity mechanism is built into ring. So that is ring topology. Then next is what we call as a star topology. So this is your central server, and the systems are connected to the central server. So when you connect like this, because it looks like a star, so it is star topology. The core advantages that of star topology is that suppose this connection is gone, the network doesn't go out because the server is able to connect to all the other part of the network. So it has a lot of resilience built into it. The disadvantage of star is because each node has to be connected to central server, the cost is very high. And the last one is what we call as a mesh. So it is basically a star and a ring merged together. That creates a mesh. Just give me. I need to create a larger circle here. So I connect all four in a ring network and a star is, so it creates a mesh. So it's very, very costly, but the resilience of system is very, very high, because if even this connection goes, the system is there. So you need to create this topological controls based on the topology that you are using. Then Darshan has a query, what are nodes? So Darshan, the nodes are the user computer. So this rectangle is basically me as a user computer, you as a user like let us understand this class as an example of a network. So all students are these rectangles, the nodes, and ICI Board of Studies is the server. So we are all connected to this. So that is how. So node is the user end. That is. So it's a good discussion. Just keep a tag of it. Even if it's not there, then someday you will find reference to this in the 5 modules as we go about. So let us go to our slide. So topological control based on the topology that you are using. Okay. Then subversive attacks, we were here, so we talked about that. And now we are on the last part, that is audit trail control. So this includes collection of data like unique identifier of the source, destination, the node, each node that it traverses, the unique identifier of the message itself. So these are all part of the accounting audit trail and operations audit trail. This include detail like number of messages that have traversed each link, each node. So what operations have been done like that. So accounting and operations audit trail. Then processing controls. So processing subsystem is responsible for computing, sorting, classifying, summarizing data. So this is again, this part has a lot of technicalities built into it. Okay, so just keep a tag of it. Remember the words as they appear, because this is, please understand, this processing control is the central processing unit of a computer. So it's getting deep, uh, technically deep into system. Remember the words as they come. Okay. The major component is central processor. Now what you need? Processor controls. So the control of error detection and correction. Processor may malfunction due to any reason. Okay. Reasons are also given. Design errors, manufacturing defects, damage, fatigue, electromagnetic interference, ionizing rate. That is why they tell that don't keep your laptop desktops near high magnetic field. Don't keep where there is chance of radiation is very high. They hit the processor. So that is what you need to remember. The failure might be transient. Transient means temporary. It may be permanent. For the transient and intermittent errors, retries, you do it again. For permanent, processor may have to stop, report error, and then you may have to replace, do. Then multiple execution states. Okay. So multiple execution state, it is important to determine the number and nature of execution states enforced by a processor. This helps auditors to determine which user processes will be able to carry out unauthorized activities. Now, kindly understand, see, what you are reading through is a very highly technical hacking that probably is being done. So someone is able to enter your processor, and because it is in multiple state of execution, some state may be misused. Okay. So this helps auditors to determine which user processes will be able to carry out unauthorized activities, such as gaining access to sensitive data maintained in main memory regions. So the auditor skills are very technical. The nature of error is also technical, but just remember it. Then timing controls. An operating system might be stuck in an infinite loop. Yes, this is good. Infinite loop means in flowchart, it does happen sometime. We took that example of adding first 25 even numbers. We used a count So suppose we did not validate count, then if you don't validate count, the program is going to run and never end. So you need to understand how to get out of it. Infinite loop and component replication. In some cases, processor failure can result in significant losses. So you may have to have a replication, means additional component. Then B and C, real memory controls and virtual memory controls. So to understand these words, because now they are in module, so I'm asking you this question. Say what is the RAM of your mobiles that you all use? आप सब जो अपने मोबाइल यूज करते हैं उसका रैम का साइज इधर लिखो ना, कितनी जीबी की रैम है, 2 GB, 4 GB, 8 GB. आई वांट ऑल ऑफ यू टू राइट द size of the RAM of your mobile. The options are 2 GB, 4 GB, 6 GB, 8 GB. Now I think 16 GB is also there. And I don't know, 32 GB is also there. So please write the random access memory size of your mobile. Then we'll read C and D. Application software controls, these perform validation checks to identify errors during processing. So a lot of checking is done. And then audit trail controls. So accounting audit trail, this includes data item like to trace and replicate processing performed on data items that enters into processing system, to follow triggered transaction from end to end by monitoring input data entry, results, output data values. So it's basically on the accounting aspect. Operations is, this includes comprehensive log on hardware consumption, how much CPU time you have used, how much secondary memory you have used, how many failures you have faced, the log of it. So that is part of operations. Now you have answered, so let me read through. Yeah. So 4 GB and 8 GB. Now, this real memory and virtual memory are part of all systems where you have RAM. Okay. Now the next question is, I have not told you, okay, based on your understanding, based on the words, the way you read it on the screen itself, I want you to tell the real memory size of your mobile, a real memory size. You can say like that. If you don't know, you can say whether it will be more than your RAM size, less than the RAM size. So your real memory size of your mobile. So now you are answering real memory. So you can say RM, real memory, is this much. Okay. So you can say in terms of RAM also, less than RAM, more than RAM, equal to RAM, like that. I'll just refresh once more. So let us go back. Now see, the real memory size of your device, laptop, desktop, will be generally slightly less than your RAM. So suppose your RAM is 4 GB, so real memory will be some less than that. Okay, just remember it like that. What is your virtual memory size? So virtual memory size is like, yeah, real memory will be equal to RAM. So I'll accept that question. I'll accept that. Slight less, but those who say equal, I'll accept that. Now the next question is, what is virtual memory size? So virtual memory size is infinite. Okay, so no need to learn and answer. It is like infinite. So see, you use your mobile like you binge watch a series on OTT platform. So eight episodes, you all watch 8 episodes non-stop, binge watching. But does your mobile say that my memory is full? No. What happens? Only that part of the program, of the software, of the movie that you are right now watching is being processed through RAM. The previous part is overwritten. So this idea about overwritten, overlay is what creates a virtual memory. So real memory and virtual memory. So first you need to understand the concept. So real memory is the actual size of RAM, virtual is the relatable size. Virtual, you say, what is that is not real. So virtual memory is not the real memory size. It appears like it is infinite. If this idea is clear, then the controls you can read easily. So controls to ensure that the real memory works properly are real memory controls, and controls to ensure that the virtual memory works properly are virtual memory control. The key issue is the addressing the real memory addresses and the virtual memory address. So that is how you look at it. Yes, slightly lesser version. Yes, slightly lesser. I'll accept that. So that is just bringing two more words for your understanding. Okay. We read a word virtual private network VPN. Then also I said that. So virtual private network is there in your module 1, module 2. Sorry, chapter 1, chapter 2. So VPN is virtual private. What it means that the network is actually a public network, but because of security, because of encryption, the network works like a private network. That is why you call it as a virtually private network. It is actually public, but it behaves like a private network. Public means the network connection is public. It is by a internet service provider, but because you have created security, it appears like your own network. That is virtual private. Yes, Gundu Chandrasekhar, it is basically working on the way memory is allocated on the disk. Okay, so that is sufficient. I told you this has a lot of technical. This part has deep technologies, technical words built. Remember it. No need to understand beyond definitions. Then accounting or operations audit trail, I want you to read through. Then database control. We have talked a lot on database control. Access controls we have already discussed. Integrity. Integrity controls means to ensure no one is able to tamper the database in an unauthorized manner. Then application software control, because see, we have seen through diagram that applications are here and database is here. So application is going to access database. So this access needs to be controlled. That is. Concurrency, I've shared a live example with you on concurrency control. Cryptographic controls, it is written, already discussed out. File handling, how you handle your database, that you need to ensure. Gundu Chandrasekhar, VM has nothing to do with hard disk. Delete. Don't remember it like that. Jitna padha utna, Gundu Chandrasekhar, whatever we have discussed is more than sufficient. Don't put more heart into it. Not needed right now. Okay. Then audit trail controls, I want you to do through. Output controls. Now this is good. Inference control. Now inference is what? See, inference is basically, let me share with a practical example so that will get into you. What exactly is inference? Say, let me bring my Word document. We'll see how inference control. It's a very good understanding, good discussion, and you learn much better. Let me bring. So I'm sharing you an example of inference control and how it probably is working through. So understand that, let me use the font size. So A Limited and B Limited are two companies. Okay. There's a good general manager who is working. G is a general manager working in A Limited. Now B Limited wants to give a proposal to G that you join us. So B wants to bring G to its working team. So then B needs to give a proposal to general manager G that we suppose A is paying you this salary, we will pay you this much. But then for that B needs to know the salary of A, G. So then how to know the salary? So some hard work is being done. An employee is an employee. He is working in HR department of A. So A, B requests E, or he is known to B. They are friends, like the owner promoters of B know E. So like friend, like though they request E that can you tell us the salary of G general manager? E feels so it's so easy. E says, oh, I'm HR department employee, I can get you. So he generates a query. What is the query? Salary of G. Now this is people who have configured system are uh, more intelligent than E. As soon as E asks salary of G, system gives a message. No access allowed. Why you need to require? You are an employee of company. Why you need a salary of a general manager? No access allowed. Okay. Job is not done. But then E is intelligent. See what it does. Generates first query. Salary of all employees. In fact, this is also public doc for a listed company. This is a public document printed in the balance sheet. So salary of all employees is there. And then what E does? It's a coincidence that G is the only employee in the company whose age is 50 plus. So what employee E does, he has the salary of all the employees who have age less than 50. What is the difference of the two salary amount? Difference is what? Salary of E. This is what is called as inference control. It's very intensive, huh? Please understand. So inference control, control is a second word or second step. Let us understand the risk. So this is called as a risk of inference. What is the risk? That a person, by using a set of questions, is able to gain access to information to which he or she is not capable, or to which he or she must not have access to. कोई व्यक्ति अलग अलग प्रश्नों से उस जानकारी को प्राप्त कर लेता है जो उसके अधिकार क्षेत्र के बाहर है. इसको कहते हैं इन्फरेंस की रिस्क. And to control that, you require inference control. So in database, any unique element is removed. Now in this database, just listen to what I'm sharing. In this database of the company, the HR database of the company, G is a general manager who is the only general manager with age more than 50. And it's a unique field. Anyone can gain access to this G's salary by asking right questions. You know what is done? This uniqueness is removed in database. So fake employees are created in database with an age of more than 50. Of course, people in the organization will know that this is a fake employee, so that salary is not paid to that person. But the idea is to remove the uniqueness. What is the intensity of controls that you put in place? So inference. Jignesh, I am not the right person to answer your query. You'll have to talk to Board of Studies. That is inference. So you need to ensure no one is able to generate. Then batch output, we have talked about batch controls a lot. Now, a lot has been added in this paragraph. So I'll read the underlines. Okay, so those are the controls. Report program execution control, spooling file controls, printing controls, report collection controls, user client service review control, report distribution control, user output control, storage and retention destruction control. So all these controls are basically on the report that is generated. So when generated, how generated, who can review that, how to keep it, how to distribute it, how to destroy it. All these controls are part of this. Then report design control. Your report has to be very well designed because it will be a source of decisions to be taken. Then online output production and distribution controls. It deals with controls to be considered at various phases. So that includes distributing, communicating, receiving, reviewing, retaining, and destructing outputs. So source control ensure that output which can be generated or accessed online is authorized, complete, and timely. And last is audit trail control that I'm leaving for you to go through. Yeah, that I can define. Spooling file is basically, Darshan, when you give a printout, so when that system process, it creates a spool file of the printout. So what happens that this spool file, because it has output, your printer is not going to be able to print 1000 pages immediately. So that spool file has to be stored at some location. So it is stored in system at some location. That location has to be secured because then hacker may be able to hack that location. So that is spooling file control. Then we've talked about this boundary control, cryptography. Okay. So anything that you want, you can here. Audit trail controls we've done. So it's a fast revision of what we have done. So any word you feel like, I can define. Information system auditing, that is what we are going to start for today. Need for audit of system, objectives of audit, tools, and audit trail. So why you need audit? Because if you don't do an audit, the cost of data loss is huge. Incorrect decision making, computer abuse cost is huge. So value of hardware, software, personal that you may lose is big. High cost of computer error to ensure privacy and to ensure that the computers are properly used. So that is why we need auditing. Objectives, asset safeguarding, data integrity objectives, effectiveness and efficiency objectives. So core objectives for any audit. And this and what you have read in audit per se, not much difference. Asset safeguarding is there, proper controls are there, business achieves, business is done effectively, efficiently is part of that definition. So here some slight changes are there. Here business has been replaced by system. Rest is same. This is important. So I think this is a very intensive discussion, very learning discussion. So what we'll do, it's 7:03 right now. Yeah. So we are taking a slight early break today. So let us have our 10 minutes break. So we will reassemble at 7:13. So we are having a break. It's break time. Okay, so welcome back after this tea break. Then we have two questions, one by Darshan. Who does IS audit? Good, Darshan. So our institute has a post-qualification course on system audit. So those who do that course, system audit, those chartered accountants can do IS audit. Just for information, I am also a qualified system auditor. In fact, I did it in first batch, December 2001. Then only 120 members did it. So that is how it is. I'm a faculty for that course right now, post-qualification system audit. So these system auditors who have got this qualification, they are eligible to do it. Nihar has a question that surprises me, but then Nihar, because it's a question to answer. So Nihar, it is not the first lecture. This is 9th lecture in series. We have completed chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and each chapter has 3 lectures. And generally, we are completing a chapter in a week. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we have lectures. Okay. So that is how it is. Any more queries? Now, so we are going to the module for this. Tools for IS audit. Now see what you're looking at screen are also referred to as concurrent audit techniques, snapshot, integrated test facilities, SCARF, CIS, and audit hooks. So we'll read from the module. We'll try to add some practicality to it. Oh, Darshan, it's not to be this, but 6 months is general duration, Darshan. Darshan wants to know what time system, in what time you can become a qualified system auditor. Generally 6 months. So going back to the module, give me a second. So snapshot. So snapshot is basically taking image of the transaction as it is being processed in system. So what exactly is snapshot? To take the, what I'll do, we'll take the definitions first, and then I'll show you practically how they are being done. Okay. So we'll have 2 steps. First, the basic definition of the technique. Then I'll bring my Word document to see practically how you're doing it. Okay, good. So 1-line definition, snapshot. It basically captures image of the transaction as it is being processed in system. Second is integrated test facility. So this is basically you create something called as a dummy transaction to see whether a desired control is working effectively or not. Now, integrated test facility, the name comes because the dummy transaction is entered when the system is live. So it is being, the testing is being done during live. So that is why it is called as integrated test facility. I am using the word dummy transaction. Internationally, when they say dummy entity, but in Indian context, transaction is good to understand. So you create a dummy transaction. Just remember this much, we'll do it practically. Then SCARF, System Control Audit Review File. This I'll show you practically how it is working. It's a good technique to learn. See, of this 4 or 5 audit techniques, lot of multiple choice questions are there in examination. So we'll try to learn them by practical examples, so you will be remembering it easily. No need to remember, no need to punch them in your permanent memory. You can remember by understanding. Okay. Then CIS, I'll explain CIS along with SCARF, and last is audit hook. Audit hook is picking of the transaction. Hook, you pick out some transaction, that is audit hook. Okay. Let us see practically how they work. Now, how snapshot may be working? Snapshot कैसे काम कर रहा है वो शेयर कर रहा हूं मैं आपसे. So see how snapshot works. What is done? Say, just take this example. Say, for example, TCS. TCS has something around 6 lakh employees, and your auditor, and you have auditor, and you are supposed to validate the payroll program of TCS. How you do it? So you'll not be doing it checking. So what you do? You see how the payroll is being generated. So you find that there are steps. Step one of the system calculates the basic salary. Then you have step two, which calculates the, say, allowances. Then you have step three that calculates deductions, and then step four that calculates the net salary. So this is how the transaction is being processed. So what you do, auditor, you select from 6 lakh employees, there will be category of employees. So you select, say, 100 employees. Once selected, Snapshot is a program that is configured for these 100 employees. So what happens? As the salary of these 100 employees is processed, so screen image is captured of the transaction after each step. So what is done? So as soon as for employee one basic salary is calculated, the software captures the image. So it captures the field value after calculating basic salary, then allowances, then deduction, then net salary. So it captures those images. Later on, auditor on screen and even by printout, auditor can validate whether the system is calculating the salary of these 100 employees correctly or not. If the calculation is correct, then the payroll program is working perfectly. How you select 100 employees? SA 530. What is SA 530? So based on the principles of SA 530, auditor selects this 100 employees. Okay. So that is snapshot, capturing the image of the transaction. That is how it works like. Okay. The only key considerations is at what location the image has to be captured. It has to be done very ethically. And second, the issue with this technique is because it works on image capturing. So image takes a lot of storage space. So that is one aspect, you can say, demerit of this snapshot. But the key merit of the technique is it creates an audit trail of transaction. You see, you can create an audit trail. That is the best part of it. Okay. So I want, so Darshan, we want 80 marks in examination. So I want you to be focused here. Need not focus on post qualifications. Okay. Right now here only. Good. But you have said correctly, Darshan. So first is snapshot. So fast recap. Snapshot captures the image of the transaction. Who decides which image of the transactions? Auditor, based on understanding the program. What steps, what locations image have to be captured, that auditor has to decide. That is how snapshot works on. Yeah, audit sampling, good. So which 100 employees? Based on the principles of SF 530. So even when you are using a system audit technique, still the principles of audit are applicable. So ours is a king subject. मुझे विश्वास है कि हम जिस विषय को पढ़ रहे हैं, ये सभी विषय का जोड़ निचोड़ यहीं पर है ऐसा. Okay. Next was ITF. Integrated test facility. That is the next technique. Now, so integrated test facility works like the example I gave. Say, for example, you are using an accounting system. What is the limit of this cash payment? In income tax, how much cash payment you can do against expenditure? Income tax में ऐसा कुछ restriction है क्या कि आपको cash expenditure के against में कितना cash payment कर सकते हैं? So that restriction is say 10,000. So now you're auditing the system. So the chances are that this restriction that a cash payment cannot exceed 10,000 rupees is part of the system, and there is a chance that it is not part of the system. Okay. So we'll take both the situations. First, let us take this is part of the system. So this restriction has been configured in your accounting system. Then, as an auditor, what is your concern? Your concern is that you will be doing a compliance audit. Compliance audit means whether the control which has been put in place in system is working properly or not. So what you do create a dummy transaction. You create a cash payment voucher of 11,000 and see whether the control that has been put in place in system is working properly or not. So if the control that has been put properly is going to work is working correctly, system will say you cannot process this transaction because it is more than 10,000 in cash. Compliance, existence of control, you have validated the effectiveness of control. So for validating this effectiveness of control, what you created a dummy transaction. You process the dummy transaction while the normal business operations were going on. This is what is called as integrated test facility. I'm using the word dummy transaction. Somewhere you read, you may say dummy entity, but we are concerned with dummy transaction. What is the core purpose? Validation of control that has been put in place, whether it is working correctly or not. The key concern of the key issue with the technique is because you are going to create a dummy transaction only for validation purpose. So you must ensure that once validation has been done, the dummy transaction must be rolled back. It must not remain in system because live transactions are also there. So that is the key concern. Yeah, 10,000 per day. Good. So most of you have said correctly. Great. So that is how integrated test facility works. So first was it is part of the system. Second, now this is a tough question. Okay, I'm making it really tough for you. Suppose this control is not part of the system. In your audit risk, does it increase audit risk? Okay, let it make simple, not make tough for you. Suppose this system-driven control is not part of the system. So there are two possibilities. The restriction is in system, restriction is not in system. So the in system, you validate through ITF, job is done. Suppose it is not in system. So my related question is, does it increase audit risk? You have to say yes, no. Question is, does it increase? Does non-existence of this control in your accounting system increase audit risk? You have to say yes, no. Yeah, good. It increases audit risk. So when your audit risk increase, audit risk has inherent and control risk and detection risk. So because your audit risk has increased, you have to increase your sample size. You have to do more audit. Now see how it is related. Because the control is not part of the system, auditor will have to check the transactions manually, increase sample size. Had it been part of system, you would have checked whether it is working properly or not. The job is done. That is how technology and systems are built. Yeah, good. So most of you have said yes, very good. That is integrated test facility. The key issue is rollback of the transaction. It must be done. Next is scarf. I'll tell you how to remember the name. It's so simple to name. No. Let us do it. So I want you to tell how many brokers are there on NSE? Brokers, huh? Don't add sub-broker. Number of brokers on NSE, National Stock Exchange. We'll do a live audit now. How many brokers on NSE? Okay, so you may not be knowing. Let me refresh. Okay, so let me put a number to it. Say 100 brokers are there. Okay, now I am asking a question that you must say yes, no. Whether you know this concept. If you don't know, then I'll change an example. I'll change my example. Margin money. You have to say yes, no, whether you know it. Margin money in share trade. Kindly say yes, no. You have to say margin money. Leave the number of brokers question. You say whether you know margin money as a requirement in trading, in share trading. Many brokers, okay. So we have one yes. Manisha said yes. So please write margin money yes. So I read it correctly. Well, then the core of the discussion is on margin money. Oh no, then I'll change an example. Let me create, just give me 10 seconds. I'll create a new example. Okay. So let us do it in a different example. Because the core was margin money. So then I don't want it to go over your heads like that. So let us take an easy to understand example that you must have in your course. Okay, because many of you say no, so I'm not taking this. Let me take this example. Hmm. Bank audit. Then, see, in bank audit, there is a concept of this cash credit loan. It is part of the syllabus. Cash credit loan. Cash credit loan has this what you call as the sanction limit that you know. Loan must not, the outstanding must not be beyond sanction limit. If it is if it goes beyond sanction limit and remains so, then the account may become an NPA. So I want you to answer, what is the period? You have read NPA now. This I know. So what is the period for which if the cash credit loan is overdrawn beyond sanction limit, what that period is? If it remains for this period, the account will become NPA. So I want you to tell me that. Okay. Now, so say for example, you are statutory auditor of State Bank of India, and State Bank of India is the largest lender in India, and State Bank of India is more than 5 lakh cash credit loan accounts, and you are this central statutory auditor of State Bank of India. And you need to find out how many days in a year the cash credit loan accounts, 5 lakh loan accounts were overdrawn. Okay, no, you are guessing, Priyanka. Darshan, no, that is not the correct answer. You have read it up in your bank audit also, NPA, overdue. You must have read it. Accounts also, the concept is there. If it remains, overdrawn 90 days, yes. So I think Priyanka, sorry, yeah, Priyanka is correct. Diksha is also correct. Manisha is also 12 months. Darshan, no, that is not 12. 90 days, yes. So Priyanka is correct. So I just wanted that word to be added, more than 90 days. That is the word. 90 days and more than, that is a difference. Okay, but then you are correct. Okay, accepted. So now you are State Bank of India auditor and you want to see that this 5 lakh cash credit loan accounts over the whole year, when they were over more than 90 days, and see, because the volume is very high, you do not do a post at the end of the year analysis, because central statutory auditors are appointed at the start of the year. So you want to say that whether you want to keep a tag during the year transaction. So how you do it? Yes, now it is correct. So how you do it? So what happens? This auditors write what is called as a special software. This special software is placed. It's a special software. Kindly remember the word special software. So a special software is written. It is put on SBI server. So this software is working on SBI server. Now, this software is going to have access to this 5 lakh loan accounts. Okay. As soon as a new debit is generated, means any amount is withdrawn from this 5 lakh cash credit loan account, the state bank system is going to do a validation whether the withdrawal is beyond the sanction limit or not. The same validation is done by the audit software. So what may happen if you just try to multiply the frequency, even if the multiplication is as simple as it is possible, 5 lakh to be multiplied by 365, and then you have to multiply by the average number of transactions each year. That's the volume you are looking at. Okay. So it's a huge volume. So what happens whenever a debit to any cash credit loan is done, State Bank of India server validates whether the debit is within the sanction limit. Same validation is done by the audit software. Both softwares will reach same conclusion. The only thing is State Bank of India is because it's a organization software, it will allow the transaction to go and record it at some location. The same thing the audit software also does. So it records all these transactions where after the transaction, the accounts becomes non-performing. Okay, that is. So what happens? The audit software keeps recording across, say, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Now auditor wants to see how many such transactions have occurred in the state bank system where a debit to a cash credit loan account has resulted in the cash credit loan account becoming PA. So there is a list made in the software. Auditor reviews the list. That list is in file. The name of the file is name of the technique. Now let us read name of the technique. So I'm now typing the full name. System Control Audit. Now we will always remember the name. System Control Review Audit File. I've given you a very simple transaction. So auditor can define what all transactions they want to keep a tag of. All will be recorded and later on auditor can review. So that is the name of the technique. SCAR, System Control Audit Review File. That is SCAR. And the next was Continuous and Intermittent Simulation, CIS. There's only one working difference between SCARF and CIS. SCARF works on application program. CIS works on database management system. Rest, they are related. The basic working is same. Yes, Rachna. This example would have been much more intense with the margin money concept. Because see what happens, I wanted to share that because Rachna has talked about that. See what happens, there are say 100 brokers. Each broker is going to do at least 1 crore transaction daily. 100 broker और एक ब्रोकर, वैल्यू नहीं बात कर रहा हूँ, वॉल्यूम बात कर रहा हूँ. 100 ब्रोकर एक दिन में एक ब्रोकर 1 करोड़ ट्रांजेक्शन करता होगा. आप 10 लाख ले लो तो 100 ब्रोकर 10 लाख ट्रांजेक्शन रोज करते हैं. दैट मीन्स मल्टीप्लाई 100 by 10 lakh. So 1 crore, 10 crore transactions daily. There are 200 working days in a year, 2000 crore transactions in a year. There are 5 different type of margins to be maintained. Ad hoc margin, mark-to-mark margin, script-based margin. So 2000 crore transaction to be multiplied by 5 different categories of margins. So there has to be validation done for 10,000 crore transactions. The volume and value of transaction is so high that you cannot delay the validation at the end of the year. You have to do it in real-time basis. So what this validation is actually done on a real-time basis through use of techniques called as SCAR. So let us go to the module. This is very intense. Huh? You can ask questions on this. Please do mentally process this because lot of questions in exam MCQ is asked on these techniques. Okay. Then audit hook. So audit hook, you tag transaction based on a definition and then see whether what are the exceptions in that. So back to slide. Just give me a second. So this we completed from the module. Then audit trail, simple. We have talked so many times on this. Okay. So what is the objective of audit trail? What is the objective of audit trail? Detecting unauthorized access, restructuring event, and person who has done the job, who is responsible for the error. So you can track this through audit trail. Then auditing of information system control. This includes auditing environmental controls, auditing physical security control, auditing logical access controls, auditing management control framework, auditing application control framework. So please understand, this is doing, see, control is who has to establish control? Management. Then auditor sees whether the control is working properly or not. So in this part would be more repetition from what you have learned previously. So this we can run through fast. Allow me to go to the module. Yes, Darshan, yes. Darshan has asked whether in this techniques I have talked about, auditor audits the defined transactions. Yes. Means what auditor basically does, you tell the software that these are the nature of the transactions which need to be audited. So the software then it works, and then which transaction you will tell audit, the list of the transaction that auditor will ask the software to validate will depend on the criticality, the impact. So that is how it is done. So this is going to be faster. It's basically, see, what management has done, you are going to audit that. So whether those things are there or not. So what auditor is looking at in this part of the discussion is whether the management controls. So there are three basic aspects. First, whether control required is put in place, say yes. Second, whether control that is required has been put in place, whether it is working effectively, say yes. Third aspect is whether the control required has been put in place, whether it is working effectively, and whether it is working effectively continuously over the period of time, say yes. So three things you have to see. Control exist effectively. If they exist and they are effective, they are continuously effective. Three, EEC I call. Existence, effectiveness, and continuity of controls. That is what we are looking at. So role of IS auditor in auditing environmental controls. So what you are looking, whether the controls put in place are working properly or not. So I'll just read the role of IS auditor in auditing environmental controls to see whether they are effective or not. The last line says it. Then audit of environmental controls require IS auditor to conduct physical inspection and observe, find, practice how people are working like that. So that you do. Power conditioning, we have talked about huge discussion, proper backup, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, whether they call it as HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. Why critical? Because operations may be hit, proper water detection, fire detection, separation, cleanliness. So one way is reading this, seeing whether it is working properly. Other is that you can keep a tag of environmental controls as discussed. And when you want to audit, so these are the controls. When you want to audit, you will say whether this control is working properly or not. So with one set of understanding, you can learn two big questions. That is the point. Then physical security. So what auditor, again, see, before you start auditing any control aspect, we need to understand the business, the nature. So this effectiveness is built through these words: risk assessment. So what is the risk? Control assessment. What are the controls? And how they have been put in place through documentation. So first aspect is Role of auditor: risk assessment, control assessment, documentation review, then auditing. So first is assessment, gaining knowledge, how it has been put in place, and then audit. So then you can read through. So this I'll not give. So sitting and marking, proximity to hazard, marking of it, physical barriers, surveillance proper, guards dog, key card system. These are all restrictions on entry. So whether they are there, whether they are working effectively, that is what you're looking at. Then auditing of logical access controls. So what auditors role of IS auditor in auditing logical access control? What is the access path? What we have talked about this access path, how you link to internet, documentation of this, then auditing of logical access control, user access controls, the authentication, access violation, how user is logged out, what intrusion detection prevention systems have been put in place, how dormant user accounts are held, are acted upon, how shared accounts are acted upon, how system accounts are acted upon. So all these are part of logical. So what auditor is going to see whether there is a control on all these aspects in system. Then password management system, how frequently passwords are being changed, whether users are creating proper password. We already had an exercise on passwords. User access provisioning, how user are being allowed to access system, what is the request, how the request of access is being processed, how access approvals are there, how new employee provisioning is there, how segregation of duty is built into system, how access review is built into system, and how termination. This is very important. Just remember a line that once you terminate an employee, one of the first things to do is delete the employee passwords. Once you terminate an employee, one of the first things to do is delete employee passwords, delete access, disable access, that is. Then access log of user, how they have accessed system, what they have accessed in system. All this validation will be part of the logical access audit. Investigative procedures, what are the investigation policy? Yeah, this topic is new. Yes, knowledge about client's business. This is a new additions. Let us do it. So auditing investigative procedures requires. Now, investigation means what? So there is some fraud that has happened, and now you are auditing, you are looking for why the fraud has happened, the reasoning out the occurrence of fraud. So investigation policies and procedures, computer crime investigations, computer forensics. This is a very new word, computer forensics. The IS auditor should determine if there are procedures for conducting computer forensics. The auditor should also identify tools and techniques to be able to do that computer forensics. So this is good. Then what? Yes, this is very important. It's a very new word. So these are new words in audit that have come. Internet point of presence. Internet point of presence means how entities being put on internet. So IS auditor who is performing a comprehensive audit needs to know the point of presence of the entity on internet. Some of the aspects are search engines, how you are being reported on search engines, social network site. We have already talked about that. If I want to give a feedback of a hotel which I have booked online, what are the multiple ways I can give feedback? So you already have shared 10, 15 ways of giving a feedback. So for an entity, this becomes important, having that feedback mechanism. Yeah, then online sales. So where you are present. Then auditing the management control framework. We'll go to the module. There are questions I need to answer. Yes. So, Darshan, investigation, you need to remember only this much that is given. That if investigation has to be done, then what aspects you need to look into. So that much only, not beyond that. Now, going back to the module again. Auditing top management controls. So whether they have done their job properly. So I'm not reading this again. The planning, organizing, leading, controlling, whether that have been done properly. Auditing System development management control, we had a good discussion on that, but there is a table added. So we'll read this table. Auditor can conduct following 3 types of review in system development process. Concurrent audit being a, I said that auditor, the slide that we talked about had preliminary investigation, requirement analysis, system design, system acquisition that included hardware, software acquisition, system testing, system implementation, and maintenance. So each phase you can be part of system. So what the module is adding, that if you're part of the system, this value additions you can do. So you can do concurrent audit, post-implementation audit, general audit. So concurrent is you are part of the development team. So as each phase is completed, you can comment on that. Post-implementation, once implementation is done, you can comment. And general audit, whether system is working properly or not. Then auditing, programming, management, control. So each phase of program, so programming, management, control, the development of the software. So all phases of the software development, whether they have been done correctly or not. So that includes planning, control, design, coding, testing, and then implementation. That. So each phase, whether it is done properly or not. Audit of data resource management controls, whether these controls are working properly or not. So auditor should determine what controls are exercised to maintain data integrity. They might also interview database users to determine their level of awareness of these controls. So again, to make it simple, to make it easy to remember, if you remember the controls in the previous session, you can say whether these controls are working properly or not. So define the controls and then question from auditor, checking from auditor whether these controls are working properly or not. Reading this para, one of the key techniques that for evidence collection in this whole paragraph that has been given is interview. So interview is one of the audit evidence collecting techniques from SA 500. So interview is one of the techniques. Then auditing security management control system. Auditor must evaluate whether security administrators are conducting ongoing high quality security review or not. So whether security review is proper, need to evaluate BCP. BCP is business continuity planning. The short form has come for the first time. In fact, there is another short form at the, I'll write that for you. Please note this short forms and full forms. Need some space. I'll write here. Yeah, I'll write. So DA is data administrator. Just remember the name DA, this short form, it's given. Okay. So DA is data administrator and DBA is database administrator. So DA is in charge for planning of database and DBA is responsible for security of database. Then BCP is business continuity planning. BCP is business continuity planning. Just keep a tag of the word. BCP. So ensuring that your business is continuing during disaster, that is BCP. So the BCP is working properly. In the previous discussion, we talked about DRP, disaster recovery plan, 4 parts of it. What were the 4 parts of disaster recovery plan? पिछले क्लास में हमने बात की थी 4 parts of disaster recovery plan. Because we did a question also. Which 2 plans are going to work prior to disaster and which will be triggered after disaster? So you are answering this question, the 4 plans of disaster recovery plan. Then auditing operations management control. Auditor should be concerned whether proper documentation is maintained, interview observation to see library maintenance, how control is there on vendor management. So that is basically part of operation. And same way, auditing the quality assurance management control. Yes. So for emergency, test, recovery, and backup. Yes, Sunil Kumar has got all four correct. Harshit has got three. Yes. Then next part, auditing the application control framework. So boundary control, input control, batch controls, processing control, data management control, output control. So whether all controls put in place are working properly or not. So you audit those controls. That is. We'll run through. So auditing boundary controls, whether offset safeguards, data integrity is there. Then input. So if you remember the boundary controls, you can start asking questions whether it is done properly, timely, correctly, the reason for generating it, the validation. So that is how. Then auditing input controls, so all aspects of input controls, proper source document design, proper data entry, screen design, coding system. So every aspect of input that we read here is multiplied by auditors' concern, and then results have to be documented. Communication control, very intensive technical discussion was there. So whether those things are working properly or not. Processing control, same way. Whether user processes are able to control unauthorized activities, gaining sensitive data, programming errors. Then, so process, what are the controls put in process? And now you need to audit that. Database controls, same. Check mechanism, how damaged or destroyed database are restored, how backup recovery strategies are put in place, data privacy is maintained, proper documentation for changes is done, how violations are acted upon. Then output controls, auditor should determine what report programs are sensitive, how they are controlled, how they are generated, how they are distributed, what is the retention period. So all those that we talked in that. So that is completing a major aspect. Now we'll go back to the PPT again. That was, now we'll bring the PPT for the last part. Yeah, Shivangini says pre-disaster is backup and testing. Good. Post-disaster emergency recovery. Great. Good. Correct. Now, database related concepts. So first we had data, then database and their models. So database can be organized in many ways. Thus, many forms a database model is type of data model that determines the logical structure of a database. How you keep that data, like. So how does it look like? So your database is collection of file tables. File collection are records. Records are made out of field. Field is made out of character, and character is made of bits. So bottom up. So bits result into field to record to file table, and that to database. So this is typically it may look like. So the record is account code, account head, expense. The field could be traveling, printing, repair, and this whole is a mass file. So you have field also. Let me have the. So you have the field also, then you have a record also, and then you have the file also. Then this is important. Database model, hierarchical, network, relational, object oriented. Now, so hierarchical model in this records. Now, please understand what you are looking at, how database looks like. So there are ways you arrange your database. So one of the ways arranging in hierarchy. What is database? Database is collection of data. Okay. Now, in this records, also known as nodes, are logically organized into an hierarchy of relationship in an inverted tree pattern. So these are direct questions in examination. Please keep a tag of this. Nodes. So please keep a note of these keywords of these databases. Inverted tree pattern. So they ask question, which database works on like inverted tree pattern? You must be able to answer. Then nodes. Nodes are in all databases. But then here, this concept of parent record and child record. This is basically specific to hierarchy. Parent record is also called as the root record and child record. So these are keywords. Now we'll read through. So please mark these keywords. They are direct questions in MCQs. So top parent record has child. Childs will have grandchild. So it is inverted tree pattern. It works on a parent-child relationship. Thus, the hierarchical data structure implements one-to-one and one-to-many relationships. We'll see through a diagram. Just keep a tag of. So, inverted tree. The branching is at the bottom. That is how hierarchical database looks like. Okay. Network. Now, again, I'll be underlying the first keywords and then you keep a remembrance. So network database view all records. The one of the keyword is set. Then another keyword is owner record. And keyword is member record. So these are the keywords: owner record, member record, sets. Now let us read through. I always relate network database model to something that you probably have read in income tax. HUF. So here you have owner record, in HUF you have Karta. Here you have member records, in HUF you have co-partners. So network appears more like that, and it allows many to one and many to many relationships. This is how you look at. So owner of repair vendor. So then repair vendor 2. So owner of repair vendor set, repair vendor repair invoice owner, members of repair, so invoice set, equipment repair invoice owner set, and owner of equipment repair invoice set. So each has been created as a different sets. That is network. Then relational database management system. So the key aspect of relational database management system is that you have a relationship between data table of database. Let me read. It is a database management system in which database is organized, accessed according to relationship between data items. These relationship between data items are expressed by means of tables. A table is collection of record, and in each record in a table contains the same field which define the nature of data stored in table. A record is one instance of set of fields in a table, three key terms are used. Remember these three key terms, huh? So again, we need to underline the key questions for examination. These three terms: relation, attribute, domain. They relate to relational database management system. Then relationships is again a word that relates to relational database management system. Keep a tag of these keywords. Yes. Relations. A relation is a table with columns and rows. Attributes, the name column of relations are called as attributes. Domain, it is the set of values attributes can take. In this, all tables are related to one or more fields so that it is possible to connect all tables in the database through the fields they have in common. I'll share with some practical example. Let us complete this. We'll read through, then I'll share a practical example because many questions are asked, so practical example will make job easier for you. A relational database contains multiple tables with at least similar values occurring in two different records belonging to the same table or different tables. All tables are related by one or more field. Again, the word that you need to remember, recall is primary key. In one table, that becomes a foreign key. Now, keys are commonly used to join or combine data from two or more tables. If primary key of one table is used in another table, the former, it is the foreign key. Let us do this through. Let us see the next one, and then we'll take a practical example on this. So in this data table, the product code is the primary key. So this product code will be linked. These two data tables will be linked through this product code. So the foreign key in the second data table becomes the product code. So we'll take an example, live example on this. Just give me a second. That will improve the understanding. Many questions are there. Now, kindly understand that in a data table, data are kept in rows and columns. It appears like an Excel sheet. So what I'm doing, I'm drawing two data tables, and then we'll create this whole idea about relational database management system. Keep it simple and fast. So first data table I am calling as employee master. So what it has? Name, code, and salary. Then code. Now, so I've given codes, and then I'll give some arbitrary salary. Then we'll see the relevance of this, what relational database management system actually does. Then I'm creating another master. This we call as transaction master. So what it has? Name, code, and the monthly attendance of the employee. Now, when my payroll program is going to work, what it will have to do? when my payroll program will be requiring to calculate salary. So what it will have to do? It will first go to employee master, seek employee date, master data, then go to transaction master, check whether the same employee is there, and multiply by the attendance. So two data tables, two different texts. But then what I can do, I can join this data table through a common key. So I'm asking you the question, I want to join this data table. What can be the common key? मैं इन दोनों डेटा टेबल को जोड़ देना चाहता हूं, किस की को यूज कर सकता हूं? की मतलब ये जो द फील्ड हेडिंग्स यू आर यूजिंग, these are the keys which I can use. I want to join these both data tables. Which of the two I can use as a common key? Yeah, one had to be selected. Now, okay. So Manisha says code, Varsha says code and name. Which is the best answer? The best answer is code, because name can be common. You can have two people with same name in the company, but code is unique. So what we do, we link. There's an iterative process that, just remember the name, just listen to it, need not remember. Huh? There's an iterative process that is called as normalization. So that process of normalization, these two data tables are logically joined. Physically, they are like this only. But when I look from the top, they logically appear like this. I'll show you how they appear from the top once I have joined them. So I take code as my key to joining. Now, once I've done that, see, this is how my data table looks like. Yeah, you'll use not name, because name can be same. Logically, this looks like this. See what I have done? A 6-column data, two different data tables, 3-column each, having 6 column in total, have been logically linked by creating a singular. Logically reading this is only 4-column database. It makes access fast. That is how now it logically appears. Physically, it is same. Down the side, the data is not removed. Physically, it remains the same, but logically, it appears like that. So this linking is creating relational database management system. I have linked through a key as code. What you will call code? This code is now called as the primary key for the employee master, and then because it is used to link transaction master, there you call it as a foreign key, but this is how you link the two data tables. So that is why this is called as relational database management system. So simple, trying to make it as simple as possible. So I took this. Then object-oriented database management system. In fact, there's a word called as object-oriented programming system that is pronounced as OOPS. So object-oriented programming system uses OODBMS, object-oriented database management systems. It is based on the concept that world can be modeled in terms of objects and their interactions, and OODBS provides a mechanism to store complex data, images, audio, and video, so that all people can work on that. I'm giving you a very simple example. Say a person who has a current account in a bank. So when that individual enters into the bank, the branch manager recalls that he or she has arrived. किसी व्यक्ति का बैंक में करंट अकाउंट है, जब वो बैंक जाता है तो ब्रांच मैनेजर कैसे रिकॉल करता है कि यह व्यक्ति आ गया है, यह महिला आ गई, this individual, he or she has arrived. Branch manager does not recall that a current account has arrived. No, he recognizes with the individual. So object-oriented technology basically works on recognition of this. Here, individual is the object. What is the relationship of individual with the bank? Today, that individual has a current account with the bank. So that becomes a relationship link. Tomorrow, if bank gives a cash credit loan to that person, then we will add another attribute, that is the person has a cash credit loan with the bank. The object remains the same. The relationship is updated. That is how object-oriented works like. It is very good, Sunil. Oops, object-oriented programming system. Then, next is easy. Big data. We have already had a good discussion on this idea about big data. So, millions of data. I'm interesting to explore as a career perspective. So we have talked a lot on big data. So it's huge, massive data that you get from multiple locations. How does it help? You can process data for taking improved, good decisions, better customer service, and better operational efficiency. Keep the keywords with you. They are directly asked in exam. Then data warehouse is huge collection of data. As organizations begin to utilize database as centerpiece of their operation, the need to fully understand and leverage the data they are collecting has become more apparent. That is why they create data warehouse. Data warehouses extract data from one or more organizations' database, load it into a data warehouse for storage and analysis. This process that you do on data warehouse is called as ETL. Again, these are words asked in the examination. So keep a track of this word, ETL. Extraction, transformation, loading. Just keep a tag of these words. So they are extract, then transform, then presented, loaded. Then it can use huge database from all locations. So that is the key feature of data warehouse. How you design based on the way you are going to use it. So you can have a bottom-up or a top-down approach to designing database. Benefits, yeah, these are good. Organization creating data warehouse need to gain good understanding of their data. It provides a centralized view of all data. Once data is identified as consistent, it can generate better versions to understand data. And you can always learn from the future trends from historical data. Data mining is pulling out data from data warehouse. So data mining will be set of data warehouse. These steps are important. Direct questions in exam. Just remember the step. Integration. Firstly, data are collected, integrated from all different sources. Selection. It may be possible that all data collected may not be required in first step. So in this step, we select only those data that is useful. Cleaning. The data that is collected may not be clean, may contain errors. So we remove the errors. Transformation. Converting that data into a usable, appropriate form, that is transformation. Data mining. In this, various data mining techniques on data to discover patterns is used, and then pattern knowledge presentation, and based on that you take decisions. So these are the steps: integration, selection, cleaning, transformation, mining, pattern evaluation, and decisions. Differences between database, data warehouse, and data mining. Important. Lot of questions are asked on these differences in your examination. Let us read through. Database stores real-time information. Warehouse stores historic as well as transactional. Data mining is for analysis. Then examples: telecommunication center database stores information relating to monthly billing. Data warehouse, same telecommunication sector, and it uses information like promotions, sales, cashback. Data mining may have the usage pattern by age group. Then its function is to record database. Data warehouse is to report and analyze, and data mining is to extract. Examples are given that you can read through. Organization structure and responsibilities. Okay. We'll have an extended class today. Okay. So whatever responsibilities you give, they must be for organizational purpose. What is the objective? What are the market conditions, the rules and regulations, and availability of people? The roles and responsibility, huge parameters to it. So individual roles and responsibility you can define. Now it is here. So organize, like these are the titles: executive management, software development, data management. So these becomes the like department heads. Okay. Then in executive management, you have chief information officer, chief technology officer, chief security officer, chief information security officer, chief privacy officer. Yes. So all these are there in modules. So I'll request you to please go through this. Lot of detailed discussion is given for each of this. There is a flow chart on table. Yeah. Chief privacy officer. Yes. So I request you have to read through this. Read and remember like that. So few things in the chapter are to be read and remembered. Then software development. So we have software architect, analyst, developers, testers. Data management, you have DA, DBA, database architect, database administrator, data administrator. Network management, network architect, engineer, administrator, telecom engineer, because you'll have to read and remember. Okay. System management, system architect, engineers, administrators. Storage engineers. General operations, operations manager, operations analyst, control analyst, system operator, data entry operator, media library. Security operations, architect, engineer, analyst, auditor, and user account manager. So you please carry, you may have direct question in exam, their roles, responsibility, you'll have to write as given. Then this is a very important topic, segregation of duty. We have talked a lot on this. So preventive and detective control should be put in place to manage segregation of duties. In most organizations, both preventive detective controls will be manual, particularly when it comes to unwanted application combination of access between different applications. However, in some transaction related situation, control can be automated, although they may be intervention by others. So then there are detailed examples in the module. I'll request you to go through them. Then we'll go to our this MCQ. Just give me a second. So now you're answering. So we'll say question 1, A, B, C, D, like that. Look for the keyword. Good. All of you knew it. So just remember these keywords. You can always mark it. Great. This one we did practically. Huh? I showed you it on Excel. Yes, 1 is correct. Now 2. C. Great. Very good. Yeah, good, Darshan. But look at the options given. If option Darshan is putting, sir, how to, it could be salami also, but then look to the options. And if they had to create a difference in salami and round down, they would have given the same in question also. So if the option is only one, Darshan. Again, this one we did practically. Great. D. Integrated test facility. I give a lot of examples to relate to this question. In fact, this is actually the case that you are looking is a reality. Yeah, that was this year. Rafael Nadal did not play. I think it was pre-COVID, 2019. Yeah, that year. Data mining, extracting data for specific purpose. This has to be easy. I highlighted this during discussion. Okay, I'll tell. Let us see the answer. Now, PERT, program evaluation review technique, Gantt charts and work breakdown structures are basically project management techniques. In our module, this came. So I did highlight them. And there's one word also that was not there. CPM, critical path method. I think you'll be reading this in your costing sometime, probably. FIFO is one that is for valuation of inventory. So it is not for any, FIFO is not a project management technique. So that is the odd one out. Darshan. If you read the options loudly at your end, you will get the right answer. आप जहां हैं वहां पे इन चारों ऑप्शन को थोड़ा जोर से पढ़ें तो आपको सही जवाब पढ़ते ही समझ आ जाएगा. Good. 6C. As soon as I say objects, I relate it to object-oriented database management system. Good. I'm enjoying because most of your 90% of all answers you have given are correct. See, scoring good in MCQ gets you very good marks in exam. Huh? That if we want to score 80%, then we need to score 100 out of 100 in MCQ. So right now your score is 90%. Yeah, reading the options would have led to correct answers. सभी ऑप्शंस को एक बार अगर जोर से पढ़ेंगे ना तो सही जवाब आ जाए. चार में से 3 out of the 4 we have discussed 3 in the slide because we have at least 3 answers on this. So let us see. D, yes. Rest all are advantages, benefits. Reading loudly will get you answer. Great. Java. Good. Let us see the answer. Distribution. Yes, integration, selection, transformations. Distribution is not. I think it is a giveaway. Yes. So that is for today. This chapter has few technicalities at the end of it. So you'll have to remember those. Just keep a tag of it. Next, whenever we meet, so just keep your questions for this module ready. Our chat score for this tough module also today has been 200. So that is great. So we'll meet next week. Yeah. So shall we call it a day? 30 seconds more. Any questions you have? Okay. So I'll just last refresh. Thank you. So good night. We are closing.